Hello, I'm Margaret. I've lived in the village now for 5 years. There's an estate on the village that's called the New Estate. It's actually 10 years old, but I live there. And I've been quite involved in the village and what goes on in the village through the village plan. I was involved in the committee that set it up and it was published in 2007. In that it was established that there was a need for something for young people. And we were looking for premises. And we searched all sorts of places in the village for premises. There had been a youth club here previously, but there was a need to have a revamp. And so we looked around, and eventually I suddenly thought, I'm a Methodist who actually worships in Settle, but there's a room at the Methodist chapel that actually isn't used very much during the week. And what about it? So I talked to the minister, the Reverend David Briggs, and he talked to the congregation. Congregation's mainly an older congregation, probably an average age of 80 plus. And there are a few new people attending now, but not so many. But the congregation could see that this was going to be a plus for themselves and for the village, and that this was going to be a place for the village to actually be involved. So we started with thinking about how we were going to move this forward. There was obviously a great need for a huge renovation in the back. The toilet was disgusting, and I think that's probably the right word for it. The kitchen was even worse. If Health and Safety had seen it, I think that there would have been a blue fit. And so David started to work round a plan to get some money and grants. Now the major grants came from Yorkshire Rural Action and from the Methodist Church, both national and local. And that's were our two main funders, but we also had other funders for whom we were very grateful, and we couldn't have moved forward without that. So there was a new kitchen, a refurbished small hall, a computer room and a toilet for disabled. A new heating system so there was a better power saving, and new double glazed windows in the rear. We added to this a new loop system and a speaker system in the church, so again the church was having some gain from this. The youth meet on a Friday night, anything up to 28 young people. It's staffed by one person from North Yorkshire for youth, and she's a paid youth worker, and then we have 2 volunteers. The volunteers are mainly over 60. And that's interesting because the young people relate very well to those people. And it includes many people from both the parish church and the Methodist church, so it's interesting that there is a church connection, but at the same stage this is not a religious youth group. We leave things lying about that were just lying about anyway, but at the same stage there is nothing forced on the young people at all. Stephen, the minister, is one of the volunteers. He's a little bit younger than the rest of us, so that's a plus. And we have all sorts of activities going on, from cooking, computer, use of the Wii, lots of dancing goes on, modelling old clothes, discussions on matters such as sexual health and bullying, and the children come along really very happily. In fact, it's very good. I think one of the best quotes that I've come across is from one of the young people who said, "This is really like my third home. It's warm, it's carpeted, and it's safe." The first was her house, the second was her friend's house, and this was her third home. And it's fascinating. The children all, the young people should I say, all drop their shoes off when they come to the door. We've never told them they have to, they just naturally do it. And then we went on to the refurbishment of another room because the young people said they wanted somewhere quiet to go. I caught them all in the toilet one night and said to them, "What are you doing in the toilet?" And they said, "Well, there's nowhere to go that's quiet." So we decided that perhaps we could do something about this. We had a very dreadful old room at the back, which was used for storage. Well, you know what church storage is like. It was a real mess. So we pulled everything out, and we've had it slightly replastered. And that was done again with a payment from the youth committee and a part payment from the church. So there's the involvement of both groups still in the building. And the next thing is the painting, and that will be done by 2 volunteers. I think one of the real movers in this whole thing has been Joy. And Joy has actually kept this project running along to the extent that she then moved on from it being a youth cafe to actually being a drop-in for anybody in the village. And I think there were a few reservations from 1 or 2 people, but she carried on regardless and started off with 4 or 5. And the past few weeks we've had 21 for lunch, so I think it is becoming a very successful place. The computer room is used in the afternoon, and we have a specialist, Ian, who comes along and works with people with their computers and helps them with their problems. So I just look forward to this moving on ever forward. A new parish priest is actually being sought in the village, and his or her duties include half a day of youth work, and I'm hoping therefore that he'll tie this in to the work that's going on here, and the links with the parish church will therefore be strengthened.